Welcome back. So excited to be here today. I'm Margot Master, your heartfelt CFO. Hope you're having an awesome day. Today was an interesting morning for me. I woke up like really crazy early, and if anything can go wrong, it was like happening. This was bothering me. That was bothering me. I had an early appointment for something, and I was like, I'm never getting there. This is the reason why I can't do that. This is the reason why I can't do that. And I saw my mind going into like this train of thoughts. And all I kept saying to myself was, okay, cancel. This can't happen. Now cancel this, move this around, and da, 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 da. And then I said to myself, who the heck is talking inside you? Like, why is this happening? This is so not like you. Like, I started to realize even more so when like these random thoughts were happening. And it actually goes really well into today's topic, which is the most expensive assumption is something that I hear a lot is will strengthen the infrastructure later. So it's like all of the things that we're waiting for later to do, we're just expecting a result to happen and almost like to save us, to help us make it less expensive, help us win, help us find that way of like that magic spell of that in between time. And this morning when I was actually going to the appointment, everything was continuing to go wrong. We hit almost every red light. I saw yellow. I did a dash so I could make it because as soon as I got closer to the yellow, of course it was red. And then it was like traffic spot after traffic spot. And the old me once upon a time would have been like, okay, just pay for the appointment or see if he'll reschedule and da 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 da. And I just kept putting myself in there. I want to get there. And we either can have these two frames of mind of where we let all these like downward spiral thoughts start to take us, and then we can lose money and then even burn the relationship of where we're going. Or we can continue to try and be like, hey, did whatever I could to get there. I still think I'm going to be 5-10 minutes late. And like it is what it is. It's the same thing with tax. You know, for my 20 plus year career, clients, the main thing that always happens is that they're always thinking that something is wrong in tax. Something must be wrong. I think it could be better. Da, 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 da. Like, and it's like some form of Google search, which to a degree does work. It's just that is it the right resource that's actually going to support where we're going with that? You know, I had a friend over this week and he was looking up something. And what I realized was what he was looking up on how he was handling something, it was like haphazard, or it was haphazard to me. And it was haphazard to me because it was health related. And it was something where I felt you need to talk to a doctor and really know the depth of the situation. And I say this to say is that all these situations could happen to all of us. And when we say we'll strengthen the infrastructure later, think about all the different things that I talked about, possibly getting late, possibly losing money, possibly damaging a relationship, right? Because if you have a one-on-one appointment with somebody, right, they're getting paid for the appointment. So it's their time. But you think because you're late that now they shouldn't get paid and that they should reroute because of what happened to you. And it's the same thing with structure. Because you didn't get to it or because all of these other things happened, we'll fix the infrastructure later. And I'm sure there's going to be some journal entry or something that's going to pick this up. Welcome. In case you're new here, welcome. If you've been watching, welcome back. Today's topic, what it costs to wait before strengthening your infrastructure. Not many people think about this because there's this hamster wheel of always making more money. And infrastructure often gets pushed further down the line of the priority list simply because the focus is the portfolio's growing, revenues increasing, opportunities keeps appearing, nothing feels urgent. It's a matter of like moving the needle or moving things forward, not looking in your rearview mirror. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. So the challenge is that growth doesn't pause while you're waiting. And as that happens, so more money is moving, more decisions need to be made. So, like, even though you're moving, things are still happening that need to hold it together. And that can't change because we decided not to take care of it. What exactly does that really mean? What it means is that things are sitting there waiting for you. Ever think about, like, with your dog, or maybe hopefully you have the dog if you're listening to this, and basically what they do is, like, they just wait until you come home, until you want to play with them. And that's what all this thing around money and business is. It's the same thing. It's the infrastructure around it. This is why I called myself out and I was like, it's time to do something bigger about this. Myself and my team, what we did is we created what's called the Financial Clarity Assessment. It's taking all of the things basically and helping you identify your pressure points, your infrastructure weaknesses, your hidden visibility gaps. Because or else growth is more expensive. When clients come to me when they're anywhere from 1 to 7 years behind, true fact, it is more expensive for them because they're paying for it all at once. It's like as if I existed then, that's how they need the work. There's no quick way to do it. And no matter where you are on the map, if you're here listening to this or you're on the replay and you want to decide, let's together with Margot put the line in the sand and let's assess where we're at and take this assessment. Scan the QR code. You can also type it out here. And when you do the assessment, be as honest as possible. You could take it more than once if you need to, but take the assessment. The infrastructure problems don't announce themselves. It's just what happens is, like, ever be on the treadmill and you're like, oh, my norm is, I don't know, what's the norm, like 8 miles per hour or something like this. And then today I'm like 12 miles per hour. So it's like you think you're slower, but you're like, oh, it's just today because I'm tired or I ate wrong or da 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 da. But it's the onset of decisions that come together with this. So you have delayed reporting, fragmented information, uncertainty around cash, and increasing operational pressure. Sometimes there could be life changes too. This is where many operators get stuck. So internally, the business is becoming harder to see and really confidently manage. And this is the stage where deeper direction becomes not an option and not a negotiation. And this is where we created part 2 of this is a financial clarity session. What I've learned from clients over the past 15 to 25 years is that sometimes we just need that one step before we take the full step. And the way I designed this session is that where pressure is coming from, what growth is exposing, and what needs to strengthen next, priorities. I'll be honest, I go to coaches too for things that I need. And hence, I share this process with you so that around business, money, and tax, you have that same thing too. Why? What's the deal to wait? Is there a hidden cost? There is. It's the missed opportunity. It's reactive leadership. It's unnecessary stress and growth that becomes harder to support because it's just sitting there and it's accumulating. Now, stress is also, it's also a choice. There was an interesting post for me, at least on Instagram, where somebody was talking about stress. And he was saying how it really stuck with me. He was saying how people were sliding into his DM and saying, like, oh, you look so much more stressed out lately. You look worried, da, 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 like all of these things. And when it was coming from a leadership perspective and trying to spin it, who knows? But he was like, the CTA was, how do you deal with stress? And he happened to say he has 250 clients. It's a choice. It's a choice to have 250 clients and to be there and to hold that stress. There's no have to, it's a decision. Now, we all can want to make more money. However, how we hold it and being able to hold the capacity is where stress and regulating ourselves throughout this all is really, really important and key. And let's take a minute. Let's reframe this. Growth doesn't create problems. It actually reveals them because expansion has a way of exposing them, what was never really built underneath the business. I'll tell you a true story. We had a client for a while, and I'm in the midst of closing the relationship. And what ended up happening was he was asking for things that was way out of the agreement. And as we were doing things to accommodate the agreement, to accommodate him, and to make supporting structures, more kept coming and more and more and more and more. And then I started to realize is that this overall structure from the start needs to fix something bigger than how it was, where there was these little fixes. And the real question becomes, is the business underneath good for what's next? In my case, it wasn't, because I needed a bigger structure overall than little band-aids. And many owners are good with little band-aids. However, in my position, that's not what we're paid for. That's not what I'm paid for, is little band-aids. I'm paid for the bigger solution or the steps to that. And the strategic shift here is the wealth operating system. I want to welcome you and introduce you to the real estate wealth operating system. What it does is to strengthen operational visibility, financial infrastructure, proactive financial operations, strategic financial oversight. So visibility, structure, scale. You can't scale without structure and without visibility. People do, but they're also sliding down the scale and the ladder, and they're falling down. And how are they falling down? By a balance sheet that's not attended to, debt that's not attended to, and bills that they can't afford. There was an interesting post on Instagram, and I go on Instagram to be entertained. And it was talking about how they use ChatGPT to get a budget for their food. And one of the things that they said around it, which was really, really true, just because let's say you spend $1,300 on food, doesn't mean that that's your budget. Your budget could really be where you only could afford $500, but you're overspending. And the post went into, organizing your meals and whatnot or whatever over time and the right stores and all of these things. But the key thing here is there where it really caught me, where just because you spend something, that doesn't mean that that's what your budget is. And the transformation is evaluate, coordinate, and scale. Because a strong infrastructure is going to help you grow, and it's going to help you with multiple properties. So yesterday we were working with a client with his tax return, and it was actually a fairly seamless meeting. This client came on and he was anywhere from 1 to 3 years behind. I really forgot how many. And he actually asked for the tax return before so he could look at it, and he had an onset of amazing questions, and we were able also to deal with them before the appointment. And as our email was really clear that he could have attended to it, it was really nice to see the flow of it. And in that, to see how the client has changed his life is really, really a big deal, because it's not a matter of just being paid for services. The bigger thing for us is seeing how the person is able to now grow their businesses and not focus on, did I spend too much on gas? Did I spend too much on the Starbucks coffee because I put a creamer or some other thing? It's really changing his life. And when visibility improves, decisions become better and calmer, confidence increases, opportunities become easier, and growth becomes easier to support. And the operator who scales them confidently are the ones growing, and the ones strengthening the business while they're growing. True story. Each year I look at the practice and I look how I made the money and what I needed to do with it. And I actually never told this story. And in my divorce, part of the thing is that you have to evaluate your assets and, all the things. And when I had to, which was really one of the hardest parts for me, was that another accounting company had to evaluate my company. He said he saw how I was intentionally leading the year to make the kind of money I wanted to live on. And I would sometimes scale down, scale up, depending on where I was going. But I was able to reach a number and consistently grow. And when the third party saw that, and especially in the middle of my divorce, I was like, wow. And I say this to say is that you can do a whole heap more when you see where you're going, when you know your ideal client, when you know your ideal portfolio, your acquisition, what you need to redo mortgages and different things. It could be a whole heap easier and more time. And I want to point that out to you is that the ones that are doing this are the ones strengthening their business while growing. I want to invite you to the next steps together, as we've been talking about, is to take the clarity assessment and then jump into a clarity session together with me where we can work through all of the details. It's great to take the assessment before, as there's a lot of things in there that once I have that information in the session together, we can work through it and really, really dive in and just help find you money, save you taxes, or whether it's actual cash or both. That's my favorite thing to do, and I look forward to having that. Now, I really hope when you're listening to this, you can take the time to listen to this and really take the steps, because it's really going to change your portfolio as it has for our clients and for myself. I've been doing, and a whole heap more people that come on board all of the time. I welcome you to the assessment. I welcome you to the clarity session. I cannot wait to see your results. I thank you so much for listening. And I tell you all the time, always ask your questions, continue to enjoy our content. Our posts every day at 7 a.m. And we're doing these lives every week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12. And I welcome you to come on live, or whether it's replay, please share with your friends, colleagues, and all of the things so that we can help more real estate owners together and raise the bar around income and wealth and really make a difference. I look forward to seeing your results. So excited for you to take this, and see you in the sessions, and talk soon.